Hey everybody in the VHR. I'm going to do a quick review here of the first 6 bosses on normal and on heroic. We're starting with the Hellfire Assault. The raid leader's responsibilities are going to focus on split groups, do an odd and an even, make sure that you split your healing, split your DPS range, and melee, and also tanks. Basically throughout Hellfire Assault, it's really just a matter of avoiding zones. Using main assist is a strong point in this one. A lot of frontal damage comes down. Couple of transitions to occur involving working through ads that spawn into stronger ads in conjunction with tanks or the boring drills that come through. So just listen for the callouts properly and just kind of defend your area and adjust as we go through each one of the ads. If one side is clear and the other side isn't, we can definitely merge and then work from there. Transitioning to the next boss, which is the Iron Reaver. The big thing that we've got going on here is that you surround the Iron Reaver, just kind of keeping her in the middle of the room, and then working damage on him based on when the rush is going to occur, based on when the targeting system is going to go into effect on the tank, and also the fire mortar attack that is put down. So one step that I wanted to include that we're going to start doing here forward is that we're going to intentionally split the groups up into odds and evens, where odds go north, evens go south, so that way, just like with the Hellfire Assault teams, they're already set. You'll be able to immediately transition into this fight, and that'll give you an opportunity during phase 2 when bombardment goes on that the two will be in a position to be able to heal and be able to work together as they clear things out. Um, and that should really clean up a lot of what we're doing, because it's kind of helter skelter when we get into phase 2 versus where we could use uh, a little bit more control and positioning. Next boss is we go to Chrome Rock. We do orange, purple, then green. Big elements that we want to make sure that we're taking care of is that with runes, you want to push them into the center of the room. We also have a tank explosion that occurs when you go through orange first. It's 40 yards. Sometimes we get caught within that area. We need to watch for it. Additionally, there's a function where Chrome Rock kind of does a slam on the ground where we need to be, relatively near each other during that point, so that way we can heal up. And then during the hands, no, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. During the hands, we need to be relatively within a few yards of each other, so that way we can clear it up. And then with the slam, we need to make sure that we're 5 yards apart, so that way the explosion coming off of us isn't wrecking us. Then when we go into purple, there'll be waves at that point. We occasionally will have to still deal with the other functions of what's going on. So what we do is just a stack formation once we get to purple or to green, because they kind of have the same function. When you have to deal with the hands, they'll be present. If he goes into green first, for example, like we go orange, green, purple, like we had happen last week, then it's essential that everybody stacks up for when the hands are going to occur, and DBM is calling it out. So that way we get pulled together and we can burn everybody out of the hands as quickly as possible, because if you get pulled into the fire, you end up dying. Then we transition to Hellfire Council, High Council. Kill order on that is Skull, X, then Box. And really, the one thing I want to stress that we've been looking at the last couple of weeks is avoiding. When damage goes out, certain functions go on, especially with Dia, I believe. Double check the name real quick. Well, the female, yeah, Dia Dark Whisperer. When she goes into her transition where she can start projecting ghosts across the field, remember that we're in a circle and that it's straight line at that point. So wherever they're at, you just got to kind of go for avoidance and get ready to use your defensive if you need to, based on as it comes through. And as long as we do that, we'll have we have pretty good clean attempts on it. But on heroic, for example, sometimes people are getting hit by that function. Also, with the Blade Master, that when he starts to do his spin and he puts out the multiple images of himself, we need to make sure that we're killing him as quickly as we can. We're looking for skulls and X's, for example, that are put down and then adjusting accordingly, so that way we can move into the transition of getting him down and then moving back to the boss. Damage-wise, it stays on Skull until we get Skull down. We hero once Skull gets to about 40%, 35%. That's also a pot, so it's a pre-pot pull, and then it's pot and hero pot, when we see the 40%, 35%, it gets called out, so that way we could transition and minimize his debuff, which is a blood debuff on you that lets you have less health over in total, which makes it more difficult for the healers to be able to keep you alive as damage scales. The next one after that is Kilrog. We use a triangle grouping. It's pretty standard for most of the videos that we've seen. Two teams basically. Need to split the teams up evenly. The two teams that are going to be going in dealing with the function of the fight that has him putting down the green circles on the ground. What we do there is typically it's just easiest to work with melee involving the movement into it. So if we have 4 melee, we'll just rotate 4 melee and 2 healers. And the big thing when you go inside of his eye at that point is that you have to make sure that you're avoiding the fire on the ground. You don't need to necessarily worry too much about the frontal attack from the larger demon. It's a codical. It's directly in front. It's not that bad. But standing in the fire, no matter what the healer does, like I've done it, and you have to blow all your cooldowns, and do everything that you can to be able to even keep like one of the 2 people alive. And the idea is to get to 20. So once you get your 20 stacks, though, then you can stand in the fire, and then we can rotate out as quickly as possible. Remember, healers, too, you have to cleanse the debuff that Kilrog's ads are putting on the tanks at that point, too. So remember, you have to stand there for a little bit with your 10-yard or so glowing white circle, and then once that's done, then you can go back to your stack point. We use red in the back for the blood. Remember that with the Heart Seeker that we want to make sure that we're taking it all the way to the back the best we can, as consistently as we can. And ads are the only thing that are important. If you don't kill the ads, then you're just going to have all kinds of problems going on. So you got to just kind of make sure that that's what you're looking for. And then finally we go to Gorfiend. The issue that we have with Gorfiend is there's just a lot going on, and we're just not properly managing it like we need to. So for Gorfiend, just a couple of things. Remember, it's a 5-yard spread. When we initially start the fight, we're going to use a square formation or a rectangle formation based on the way that it looks, schematics at that point. The idea, though, is a 5-yard spread, and we need to work within it. And what we need to do is, like, if we have 4 healers because we have 20 people, for example, we need to make sure that we have 2 healers on one side and 2 healers on the other. And then that way we always have the healing going in appropriately. There's also a circular dot that puts a purple wave about 5 yards on the ground that we need to make sure that we're doing a better job of taking it to the outside consistently. And in this fight, just like Kilrog, is ads. You have to know exactly what you're doing with the ads and do them as well as you can. That doesn't mean kill them in the stomach necessarily if you can. If it means trying to inflict as much damage as possible into them when you're healing, to heal them up as the best you can, and then make sure you rotate to the next one and heal it up as best as you can. On the outside, we need to make sure that we're on those ads constantly, that we're responding to the mechanics that Gorfiend has in place until he does his inhale, and then adjusting accordingly for the stack. Now, during part 2, we stack, and it's really simple. One tank takes one side, one tank takes the other. If one tank can handle it, then so be it. They can kind of, the tank with less damage can stay off of them, so that way the damage from the other tank is being put into it. On the first inhale, we don't really do anything except for just attack. We won't use our pot, and we won't use heroism until the second inhale, and then at that point we try to drive them as far as we can down, and then go from there. Usually it's been rotating through 3 solid rotations. The element that I want to point out too for most of these fights is that they've been very, very driven on mechanics. So we have to tighten up on our mechanic execution. Everyone needs to be aware of what their responsibilities are involving the fights and how we can adjust to them accordingly. Remember to bring your potions. Remember to keep making 125 food and saving it. We're setting up the bank to be a little bit cleaner for raiding, so that way we'll have the necessary potions and things like that. So if you just want to throw gold in there, or you can throw, for example, mats. Darvel will be working on that, so any mats you want to toss to him, he'll make into the necessary supplies, and then what we're trying to do is just have a huge stack of supplies available to be able to use. Also remember that Prophet of the Hand rep, I believe, when you get to Exalted, it's one of the 3 reps, but work towards getting Exalted naturally. With the one, it has a 50 stat augmented rune that's reusable. available when you get exalted. So I need everybody to work towards that, please. So that way you can use it, because debuff is 60 minutes and it's 50 to stats, and you also can reuse it after 60-second cooldown. So that means that it's always available, which is great. It gives it that's another stackable bonus, to total damage that they've got there for the scaling. If you have any questions, please just ask in game. If you have any comments, please let me know. You can post them below. And I appreciate you taking the time watching the video. I know it's a little long, but I wanted to cover all of these here. I'll be adding additional video in just a little bit that focuses on the Iskar and also on Sokthar. All right, so talk to everybody later.